All right, day one's in the books. We want to develop players, develop more consistency in performance day in, day out, play in, play out. It's the second time through the offense, defense, and special teams now. So guys ought to be playing faster, thinking less. And want to promote competition. So the weather cooperated today. It was really humid and hot. It was a lot different than the first day of spring practice, where it was about 45 degrees. And everybody felt great being out there. It forced us to think and play football on day one, so, that was good. So day one's in the books, and day two tomorrow.
Zach, the nays on your left.
I recognize there's a lot of stuff that just, until you put pads on, you can't quite be sure what carried over from the spring, but are there some young linemen that you saw in the spring that maybe you hope can kind of give you some depth, maybe even compete for some starting spots, guys that don't have a ton of experience but maybe have taken that step up?
Well, Kidwell was out there today, which was good to see. He was one of the best two linemen in the Sun Belt had he stayed healthy last year. And then, we're looking for depth on the offensive line. And we've got some guys returning, Drew Evans, Bray Lynch, Tyler Stevens, and we'll see if any of those young guys are kind of ready to, provide some depth as well.
Nays and then Todd.
Yeah, with the secondary, Amari Farrell had a prominent kind of place in the spring game. Where does he kind of fit into things? And one of the few freshmen from last year's team that got some playing time. What do you like about him?
Yeah, we thought he had a solid spring. We think he's got a really good future, expecting big things from him. And looks like he's picked up where he left off. So excited about him.
Todd and Jack.
Curt, you mentioned, the level of retention from spring ball to practice, and you mentioned, some of the things you already mentioned that you wanted to see. Anything just in general else that you want to see in terms of retention level from what you taught in the spring to today, and what did you see in that regard?
Well, I think we want to get these guys playing football like the way we want them to play. We have a certain style: fast, physical, relentless, smart, disciplined, poised. Always been the least penalized team in the league, #1 in turnover ratio, and very highly ranked in some key statistical categories which lead to success. And kind of develop that relentless mindset and resilient where you're not affected by the circumstances of practice or a game, by a good play or a bad play, or you're down 14 points. In the second quarter, you're not affected, or up 14 points. It's like our first conference game at JMU. We went to the Sun Belt. We play App year. They beat A&M about a week or two later. They're perennial champs. We're down 28-3 down there. Nobody flinched. Came away with the win. 2-3 weeks later, happened again. So it's kind of a mindset and an identity, those intangibles that we want to develop in camp as well.
Jack and Seth. Yeah, I guess Jack, get the mic.
Compared to the spring or summer, is there anything different about the fall in terms of the way that you coach or structure practices?
I mean, we're getting ready to play games. So, the first 8 to 12 are similar structure, practice structure. There may be some schematic tweaks based on our summer study. And then as we get closer to the opponent, there is some game-specific type things.
Seth, on your right to Jeff.
Yeah, one of the guys you picked up in spring, Sedarius Doss, had a lot of success at the FCS level. I know you talked at Media Day about how you identify a group of 5 players that might translate to this level. But I guess what do you see in him, and maybe what sorts of things do you look for guys at the FCS or JUCO level that might be able to translate to this level?
He's a real competitive guy. He's impressed our strength and conditioning staff this summer with his competitiveness. And, he's one of those guys out there getting reps, and, we'll see how the dust settles and, where he fits in terms of defense and special teams.
Jeff and then Zach. Ronnie.
Yeah, Coach. CJ West, how's he looking to start fall camp? And if he's having a great year for you down the road, what are key things he's doing well?
Well, I mean, this is the first practice I haven't seen the tape. He was a good player at Kent State. We're excited to have him. And if he's having a good year, that means he's doing what he's coached to do with great effort and tenacity. And, we're freeing him up to make plays.
Zach on your right, and Pete, go two.
You've mentioned you're looking for guys in the receiver room to kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack. What in fall camp are you looking for specifically from a handful of guys to really separate themselves from the rest?
Separation from the defenders, making plays.
Pete and Niz.
Yeah, Curt, excuse me. Can you talk about the job that Derek Owens has done in the weight room and the way he's developed your players?
Yeah, he's a guy I have a lot of trust in. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's got great work ethic, fully committed. He's always working to improve. The players like what he does. They respect him. And but the big takeaway today is, you can't replicate football. No matter what you do in the summer, football is just a set of different movements. A lot of start, stop, and then you throw the heat in there. And it was a real test and challenge. So we've got to get into football shape now. We took off weight, we put on good weight, we got stronger, quicker, faster, cut down on body fat, all that good stuff. Now we got to get in football shape.
Niz, last one.
Yeah, you mentioned at Big Ten Media Days you had gone back and obviously watched off spring camp and all the cut-ups, and Rourke really impressed you. Was there any other things that stood out when you sort of rewatched everything from spring and took kind of a big picture view about specific players or anything that kind of you noticed from kind of rewatching it and diving into the film?
No, I think because what happens is you end spring and you jump right into recruiting, and then you get the staff back, mid-July, late July, before camp, and it gives you another perspective of what happened in the spring. It's a great evaluation tool, and I think we all learn a lot from it.
All right,
Anything other,
go ahead, Niz.
anything other specifically, you mentioned work at Big Ten Media Days, but anybody else that, I don't know, that you maybe didn't see or
Well, I think the big thing is, and it's one of my primary goals, is we have to improve in our consistency of performance. Play in, play out, rep in, rep out, day in, day out, week in, week out. Getting 11 guys doing what they're supposed to do at a high level every single play. And now the second time through this, we can start to coach the little fine details in the finishing a little bit more than in the spring when we were introducing a lot of concepts. All right, thank you, guys.